Hey folks, Moose here. With a technique you could say it's a twofer. It has to do with getting a sharp image, has to do with also a bit of working in your vehicle using it as a blind, so you could say it's wildlife photography. Now, here we got the deal. We're doing a shoot, we're working somewhere, we're working and seeing critters, and they could be shy, they could maybe possibly already be habituated to people, but the vehicle is our main way of getting around and shooting. We're not actually leaving the vehicle. So how do you shoot from the vehicle and get a sharp image? Well, I see a lot of people do a lot of things and come back with not so great results. That's why I'm giving you this little tutorial, okay? So the first thing is, all right, got to be able to work the camera, okay, out the window. Got to have it steady, get a sharp image. So you can see here, I'm using the puffin pad. Now the puffin pad, it's really just a piece of really dense foam. It weighs nothing. I mean, a couple ounces, but it works really, really well. It's easy to put in your carry-on luggage. Okay, use a cradle to put other stuff in it, so it's very transportable. And I just love this thing. And it simply goes over your windowsill of your vehicle. You have the window up a little bit, goes right over. Perfect cradle for your gear. Okay, so this is taking the place of your tripod, but you're still hand holding. All right, so you can see my hand. It's cupping the lens. Gravity's forcing in. I'm going to grab the camera body, got the eye cup, and I'm going to push my head against that eye cup to do the shoot. Now I'm going to lower my body up and down the seat. All right, move the camera. I've got my elbow. It's into my top of my thigh, and the lens barrel is resting on the puffin pad. Now, why even bother to have the puffing pad if you're going to do all the rest of this? Well, the first thing is the lens starts getting heavy after a while, and it can start really bugging your wrist. At least I think it does, because I'll use the same thing with the 800 millimeter, 600 millimeter, 200, 400, 500, same technique, same everything for those bigger lenses. All right, it's going to be on here. Now, the tripod collar, depending on the length of the lens, okay, sometimes, like the 200, 400, you can see it's up at the top, all right? With the 800 5.6, I'm actually have it rested, and it's going to be at an angle and partially on the puffin pad itself. So each lens you're going to kind of customize a little bit to make it fit and work. Now, this gives you the ability to go up and down, okay? And as long as you're using proper hand holding, rolling your finger on the shutter release, you can get a really sharp image. Now, I've done this down to 1 second, no problem, okay? Now, that's kind of the first part of the basics. That is to do with the camera, supporting it, shooting out the window. The second part, well, it's the vehicle itself. Okay, the vehicle. I'm sure you've at some point shot out of a vehicle, maybe a car, a bus, or something, and you know that the slightest movement and the whole thing is this tidal wave, right? Your gear's going, and there ain't no way of getting a sharp picture. Okay, so the vehicle itself has to be not moving. All right. Now, is there a trick or a technique to all this? There is. I'm going to highly recommend you find a big empty parking lot, like your local high school or something, and practice this before you go out. Yeah, people might look at you and think you're a little crazy, but photographers are crazy. Okay. So the first thing is we have to get to that subject, and explain this all so you'll get to the point at the end. So we have to get up to the subject. So let's say we're driving down that road at a refuge and we see, that duck that we want to photograph, and it's right up there. So before we even get there, a couple things are going to happen. First, we're going to take this camera, which has probably been resting in your lap, and you're going to put it out like this. So it's extended, okay? You don't want to do this part while you're getting up to the critter. It's a lot of movement. You can have it in place. That means you're going to have a really good hold on the lens barrel. That's why there's this strap, okay, on the puffin pad, because this strap, I'm going to hook it onto a part of the inside of the door so I can't accidentally knock the puffin pad outside. Smart, okay? So I've got this outside, camera's turned on, I've got the f-stop I want, it's all ready to go. So when I stop, I can go click, click, click. It's very important, this is all ready to go. So you're going to look up there, pre-visualize, have all that done. The next part of the pre-visualizing you're going to do for that critter up there is you're going to look at the background. You're going to go, all right, you're thinking straight lines with that subject. Where do I need to put the vehicle to have the subject with the best possible background that I can pre-visualize from back here. So all that's going through your head. Okay, camera out. Where do you want to stop? Next, okay, the car is idling. And what we're going to do is we're going to slowly scoot up to that critter, okay, with the vehicle running, and then put the vehicle in neutral and shut off the engine so it has enough momentum to slowly roll up to that critter and then stop at the critter. And it takes some practice. That's why you go in that big empty parking lot. Okay. Now, it's very important to understand that when you turn off the engine, most vehicles you lose the power brakes and the power steering. Now, not a lot of people have a lot of time behind the wheel without the power steering and power brakes functioning. That's why you go in that big parking lot with no cars around so you can practice this. Because you've got to watch the critter, hold the camera, and drive all at the same time. Now, why go through all that? Well, we're going to go back to that tidal wave of movement of the vehicle. Now, if you have an electric car, this is really not that important. But not everybody has electric cars. You can't always rent them when you go on location. That means you've got a gas or a diesel, and it's going to idle, which means the vehicle will move. Okay? And where's that movement going to be the most? Where are you going to see that vibration? Yeah, right here in the door frame, okay, in that window. That's where you're going to see a lot of that movement. And since the camera is resting there, if you're shooting at slower shutter speeds, which you probably will be at the early morning or late evening hours, right? That slight movement can cause things not to be tack sharp. And that's the whole point. We want to get a tack sharp image. Okay? So to go over it now you got the whole idea. We're going to sit there and we're going to be driving along. Subject. Happy. Okay? We're going to look at it, figure out where we're going to go. We're going to figure out the background, figure out how far we're going to have to coast to get there. When we have to turn off the engine to get to that spot, we're going to have the camera already positioned out, f-stop, AF sensor, all that taken care of. We're going to make sure this part is here. We're going to have our hand on the steering wheel. We're going to slowly go up, put the vehicle in neutral, turn off the engine. We're going to coast, get to the spot, click, 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 make the picture. Okay? So, that's the basic technique, and yeah, I still go and practice that, especially just before I go out to where I'm knowing, like I'm going to Bosque or up to the Custer State Park, places where you often work from the vehicle used as a blind. I will practice before I go up there just to make sure that the one thing I'm focused on when I'm out there shooting is the critters.